Okay, it is now 3 o'clock. Welcome to the first office hour of the third week of the Introduction to Data Science module. I see currently I am the only person on the stream, but as usual, if you are joining the stream live, I welcome you to write any questions you might have into the chat box. Otherwise, I will do my usual thing of looking through questions on the discussion board. But before that, I will be sending out an email making these announcements as well. But I wanted to first highlight a few announcements here on the video in case people are paying more attention to the videos than their email. Not that we've sent out much email, but it doesn't hurt to put out information along multiple channels. First of all, the 4 lecture videos for this week have already been posted. One of them is currently processing, so if you try to go to that one, if you go there right now, you might find that it's not available. But it will be available once it's done processing. That should take about 30 minutes. So presumably if you're engaging with the course in the next 30 minutes, you're probably here not watching the lecture, but it's up to you how you spend your time. So the 4 lecture videos for this week are up. Perhaps more excitingly, there is an additional tab here now. There's not only video links, but video downloads. And if you click that, you should see a Google Drive folder. So you can click on this link to go to Google Drive. But there's a folder here with the lecture videos and office hour videos for the course. And I will be updating this folder with the videos as we progress through the material in the course. So if you don't have steady internet access, you can download the videos from here. If you click on one, there's a little download button. You can download it onto your device and watch it offline. So I hope that you will find that useful. Another announcement I wanted to make is several people have reported issues with the PW Mini project loading the data. I have, as you can see, been tracking this issue. Currently, if you look at my last 2 updates, it appears to me to be resolved. If you use simple JSON to load the data, and if you only load the data once, then I believe your attempt to load the data should succeed. This means if you open up the PW Mini project notebook and you make sure that you don't currently have, there is no scripts object currently. And if you want to really be sure of that, you can restart your kernel. If you import simple JSON and then load the data, Ah, for me it failed. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. This worked earlier. Okay, so this issue seems to be intermittent. It really worked for me, but you know, an hour ago I was testing this. Oh, the irony. Oh, I can't believe it. Well, I'll continue to investigate. I tested on a bunch of student servers and it worked on every single one of these 5 that I tested on without issue. And suddenly it's failing again. Okay, well, I'll continue to investigate that. And I'll let you know when as I have updates on the discussion board. I'll also mention it in the office hour as soon as I'm sure this problem is like permanently fixed, or if I have any other updates to share. I do have at least a couple ideas to try here. I just have not had time yet to implement them. And I'll send out an email once that I'm certain it's fixed. Oh, that's a shame. I was really hopeful that this was not an issue anymore. So I'll mark this as, say, 1 p.m. Okay, so those were kind of like the big important things that affect everyone that I wanted to address at the top of the office hour. Also, again, I just want to thank everyone who's been active on the discussion board. I can see how much you're helping each other. It's really helpful to me as well as your fellow students. And really, really great job, everyone who's been making use of the message board. It's also, compared to the previous run of this course, I think been much more useful because you all have been really adhering well to the guidelines that I laid down for how to write useful questions and useful answers and make the most of the structure of the discussion board. So thank you, thank you, thank you. There's some things here that I've already addressed. I'm going to focus in on a few questions that are touching new topics. Also, maybe just a couple logistical things. What does it mean to pass the course? This is something I mentioned before, and fortunately a student came in with the correct answer. So this is answered already, but I just wanted to highlight in case anyone is confused about this logistical question. This is the correct answer here as supplied by the student, and there's some discussion in the comments that clarify the answer a little bit further. Additionally, is it possible to know what the expected answer is with the grader? There's sort of two different ways of interpreting this question. One is there a way to know kind of like what type of answer the grader is expecting or what the structure is? And the other question, or the other interpretation is, do we distribute the correct answers? And the answer to the second question is no. And the answer to the first question is yes. So as I've mentioned in the past, we try to write the questions in a way that give you plenty of information about what the answer should look like. So this person was asking in particular about items by region in the PW mini project. So for instance, here we tell you what the answer should look like. A list of tuples, postcode, BNF name, total. And we also say to only take results from the first 100 postcodes. Sort your results ascending alphabetically and take only results from the first 100. And that's also reflected in this kind of dummy answer that we have here. If you were to look at what this looks like, it's a list of 100 tuples of this structure repeated over and over again. So that's postcode, BNF name, total, 100 times, 100 tuples. Now, obviously, your 100 tuples should all be different for the 100 alphabetically first postcodes. And in each postcode, you'll probably have a different BNF name and a different total. But we typically give you something like this, which has one correct answer. So this is one out of the 100 tuples that should be in your solution. So this is a way to benchmark if your solution is correct is if one of your tuples matches this. And we also show you here what the structure should be like, a list of 100 tuples. Okay, so PW assignment stuck on question 1. I'm just going to edit this a little bit to make the formatting slightly nicer. So what is the code that should be used to calculate the first and third quartile? So if we assume key is one of these lists, for instance, describe on items A, then this is correct. As indicated by the student, average will always be an integer. So it could be important to typecast to float to match the correct solution. That's good. I'm actually going to convert this to an answer. I feel like this basically covers it. So if there are 6 quantities here, presumably, excuse me, whatever he is, and we calculate 6 quantities for 4 different fields. So 24 in all. And presumably, if he's getting something wrong, it's a problem with these calculations, not with these lists, because they're all created in basically the same way. And he's getting a score of 2/3, which means 2 of the quantities he's calculating here are probably wrong. Quite possibly he's calculating this incorrectly because of the floating point division issue. Of the remaining things, let's see. How does NumPy percentile work? So percentile uses this interpolation to interpolate the value if the percentile falls between elements in the actual list. I'm not sure if that's the source of the problem, because I don't believe I did something like that in the example solution, because I didn't use NumPy. I did like sort of a straightforward Pythonic calculation, or pure Python solution. Let's see here. What did I do? Yeah, I didn't do something like that. I took an actual value from the list. So most likely, yeah, so another question about PW exercise 1. Okay, so for each value in his list of values, append I minus average squared. So first of all, this is the variance, not the standard deviation. There's a number of improvements I could imagine making here. The most significant one being that you don't need to build up this list in order to take a sum. You could perform a running sum, and that would be more efficient. I think all the other questions are basically covered. So I think that about does it for the discussion board. Unless anyone who joins live has a question to share in the live chat, I don't have much to go over at this time. Yeah, Shashikant, that is my assessment at this point as well. The thing is, I don't want it to be only working sometimes. I know that many students have limited access to the internet, and so it can be a big problem if when they, have made time in their day to go work on the mini project, that the data set doesn't load. So I have a couple ideas to try out. And of course, it's possible that I can just alter the data set as well. But the problem there is that it will change what all of the answers are, in which case people will have to people who have already been working on the mini project will have to re-download the data and rerun their code with the updated data set. And I would like to avoid that if possible. The grader will not work locally. You can download the notebooks and run Jupyter Notebooks locally, which I mentioned in one of the lectures from last week. I think maybe the first one from last week. I'll be sending out email instructions sometime soon on how to do this as well. But the grader will not work locally. The grader only works on Jupyter Hub. Okay, I may have found my solution. I hope this works. So I split the file into two pieces, and I think, for whatever reason, splitting it into two pieces may just do it. I think this might work, which is very silly. But I'm gonna try it. Okay, so AWS. Let's see here. How do we get the latest files in Notebook? So for the, other than, okay. So I do a lot of live coding during lecture, which there is not really a good way for me to share with you. But of course that you can see in the lectures and replicate if you so desire. If we modify the course material, which we do not in some kind of major way, then we will give instructions on how to update the notebooks. We haven't done that so far, and hopefully we'll avoid doing so. I don't think there's any updates that we've pushed that anyone needs to download. But if there is a way, but I'd rather not get into it unless it's really necessary. So we haven't been like adding files or notebooks or anything like that. What I was just doing is, so I mentioned for the PW Mini project, I split this file up into 2 parts on my local machine, and then I uploaded them to my server for testing. And then I like briefly muttered under my breath AWS, and I was pushing these files up to AWS, which means if you were to rerun this cell, now these split versions are on this S3 bucket, and you would be able to download them from there. But those are the S3 buckets only used for data files, not for notebooks or things like that. Okay, so I think now that I have a solution, let's see, update 18:07:16, 4 p.m. Solved, I think. Okay, so I'll be sending out an email today with a bunch of updates and instructions and stuff, including this fix for the PW Mini project. Fingers crossed that this works for everyone. Based on the fact that like I can't run this cell multiple times or it kills my kernel, or even once in this case. But I can run these as many times as I want. And it seems to work fine. I think this is a fine solution. Well, I can run that one once anyway. So I think this works okay. Another thing someone requested, I don't remember who, but I am working on it, is getting the times here listed in the user's local time. At the very least, we should change these to probably to UTC rather than Eastern time. But since I live in Eastern time, this is like very easy for me. And the shift, unfortunately, from Eastern time to UTC is not always the same, which I imagine is a problem that many students suffer from equally as much as I do. So. Okay, it's nearly 4 o'clock here. Unless there's a final question, I'm going to sign off. Okay, then I will be back for more office hours tomorrow.